Good afternoon. My name is Cara Axelrod, and I'm a registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist, certified sports nutritionist, graduate student, and research associate at Nova Southeastern University. Today, I'm going to be talking to you guys about some of the research related to high-protein diets and effects on body composition, and how we can use this latest research to better assist our clients here at EXOS. So to begin, I want to ask a quick question, and that's, do you guys know what any type of protein sources are?
Meat products, so like your chicken, steak, fish would be the first ones that come to my mind.
Very good. Chris, do you know of any?
I do not.
Okay.
Turkey.
Turkey, very good. Eggs, egg whites, salmon, tilapia. A good way to think of it is anything that once had eyes is going to be considered a protein source. So as you can see, some of them we just reviewed are the best sources of protein. Now, do you guys know of any benefits of these protein sources?
Build muscles, first one that comes to my mind.
Excellent, excellent. I like that. Any?
Like protein synthesis.
Exactly. So builds muscle, kind of along the lines with what Brock said. In addition to building muscle, protein actually fights infections, helps wounds heal. It's the building blocks of all the DNA in our cells. And in fact, if you were sick and went to the hospital, the first thing your doctor would look at was your protein status in your blood. And if it was lower than 1, you wouldn't have very much time to live.
Wow.
So now that we know how important protein is for you, do you guys have any idea of how much you should be taking in?
No.
Probably about 1 gram per pound of body weight, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that sounds consistent, but actually what's amazing is right now in the literature, they cannot come to an agreement of how much is considered too much. Nobody can agree upon what that number is. So I want you guys to take out your cell phones and we're going to do a quick calculation. So are you in your calculator?
Yeah.
Type your weight in, divide that by 2.2, and then multiply that by 0.8.
I'm 69, just barely over 69.
69? So that means for you, anything greater than 69 grams of protein is going to be considered too much. Take the palm of your fist worth of a piece of meat, and that's 20 grams. So for you, that'd be about 3.5 servings. Anything more than that is going to be considered too much. But that's just based on one people's recommendation. And as you can see, the literature is mixed as to what is considered too much. Dr. Jose Antonio is one of the leading sports nutrition researchers in the world, and he says that 1 gram per pound of body weight is an ideal place to be. Which is actually amazing because that's consistent with the EXOS guidelines that we use here. But his team of researchers wanted to know what would happen if we push that limit and put it over that 1 gram. How would these athletes respond? Would they see any benefits in their performance, in their body composition, by consuming all this excess protein? So I'm going to talk to you guys today about 3 research studies in the literature. These were done in 2014, 2015, and 2016, and they're 3 novel studies we're going to review. So for this first study, they wanted to know what would happen if they took 30 individuals, they kept their training the same, so they were already resistance trained athletes. They weren't going to touch their training. All that they wanted to do was overfeed them on protein. They wanted to overfeed them on protein 5 times what that normal limit is, what we just talked about. So they got 4.4 grams of protein per day. We had just looked at the 0.8. They were instructed to maintain the same dietary and training habits. Can you guys give me a guess as to what happened to all of these athletes who were overfeeding on protein in this study?
Added a little excess fat would be my guess.
Do you think that they put on some fat? Chris, what do you think happened?
Same.
See? What's amazing is that in this study, there were no changes. No significant changes between body weight, fat mass, fat-free mass. It was as if nothing happened, which is novel in the literature. This is the first research study showing that you can consume over 800 calories worth of extra protein, and it's as if it just disappears. You guys got that?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Second study. Now these researchers were wondering what would happen if we actually put in a training protocol. So they did a specific periodized training program. So they gave them 8 weeks worth of training, 5 days a week exercise. So that's 40 exercises. They lowered the protein slightly to 3.4 grams per kilo. Yep. And then, so what do you think happened with this study? With the specific training protocol?
Probably an increase in lean muscle mass would be my guess.
Increase in lean muscle mass?
Decrease.
Decrease in lean muscle mass, even though they're eating all this extra protein? What do you think?
Increase.
Increase. Surprisingly enough, in this study, even though the high protein group was consuming all of this extra energy, they actually lost more body fat than the normal protein group.
Wow.
Again, even though they're consuming, 12 more of these per day, they lost more body fat than the group who didn't.
That was over how much time?
8 weeks.
Wow.
They were on the specific training protocol. Okay, so we looked at 2 studies so far that were 8 weeks. So now the professors were going to say, what happens if we look at a 1-year study? What are the results going to be after a year? So they took 14 resistance trained males. Hey, where's it going? So they took 14 resistance trained males. For 6 months they were on a normal protein diet. For the other 6 months they were on a high protein diet. Again, they didn't give them any specific training protocol. They just said, you're already resistance trained, keep doing what you're doing. And what do you guys think happened after 1 year?
Oh, I don't know. After what we've seen, I'd guess maybe long term they maybe put on a little bit of extra fat mass. Yeah, maybe a little extra fat mass. I'm not sure.
If everything else stayed the same, I mean, I would think it would kind of mimic that first one where results were pretty consistent. I mean, pretty much stayed the same.
Yeah, great job, Tim, because actually after 1 year, the results were that absolutely nothing changed. Again, they were consuming all of this extra energy over a year, no changes in body fat and fat-free mass. There were no changes to their liver, their lipid profiles, their kidney function. It was as if all this energy was just disappearing. Okay, so despite the total increase in energy intake, subjects did not experience an increase in fat mass. So what the heck does this all mean, and how can we take this data and translate it into the knowledge that we give to the clients here at EXOS? Well, we just had a study saying that 30% of our clients that come through the doors want to lose body fat. And what is one reason that people struggle so much to do that? Hunger.
Wanna eat.
Yeah, hunger is usually an issue in satiety. So if we can use all this data to show us that a high protein diet does not result in excess fat mass, me as a dietitian, I can translate that data to you and say, at the end of the day, if you're still hungry, I want you to increase your protein intake. Have an extra shake, have an extra chicken breast, have some more eggs, because the research has now shown us that increasing your protein intake does not result in fat mass.
And
Eat more protein.
did they take like blood lipid profiles after these tests as well? And
Yep, every 2 months they were what we call a glomerular filtration rate. That's the indicator of kidney function. No changes. They did lipid profile, cholesterol, HDL, LDL, VLDL. No changes across the board.
wow.
So it was as if all this extra protein was just disappearing. But yet the subjects, they were full, they were more satiated, less hunger. So, and again, this is all research, 2014, 2015, 2016. So, let's see. Do you guys have any guesses as to where this extra protein is going? The presentation is over, but I just want to have this conversation. Do you have any guesses as to where this extra protein is going?
If I remember right, body works a little bit harder to break down protein, so like the thermogenesis aspect of food, meaning, but I would doubt that would offset the extra calories, so I would imagine that would be part of it, but I have no idea after that.
Yeah, exactly. I really liked what you said there. There's something called the TEF, which is a thermic effect of food, which states that consuming something like a protein is going to take quite a bit of energy to digest, so you're losing some calories there. The other theory is what we call the NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which means you put more energy into the body, you're going to be moving more, burning more calories. So those are the two guesses that these researchers had as to where these extra calories are going. But at the end of the day, we now know over-consuming an abundance of protein is not going to result in fat mass.
So would it be safe to assume that some of the stuff that you kind of read in your college textbooks about, so you have a certain amount of protein that goes to the muscles, you have some, if it's, too much, bypasses or doesn't bypass, it basically gets excreted, and then they said that the, remainder protein gets converted to fat. So is that kind of where now everything's starting to diverge a little bit, where we're guessing that maybe it's not going to fat like we once kind of assumed that it was?
Exactly. Like you said, the first thing that protein's going to do is go to build muscle, fight infections, help wounds heal, and then it's going to be broken down. They're going to take off the nitrogen group. You're going to excrete that. The rest is going to be converted to glucose. You're going to burn that as energy. And it's just a more complicated process than it would be in carbohydrate or fat metabolism.
Gotcha.
So the research is changing.
So between those three studies, the second one, right, you said they increased protein intake, right? But the only thing that was different was the training program, was the periodized model.
40, yeah.
So, I mean, I would think with that being said that the training program is gonna be a major factor regardless then, right? If that's the only one that actually saw any increase as far as like, I guess increase means decrease in this case as far as body fat goes, but.
Yeah, exactly, because the first study and the third study, they just told the subjects to just do their own thing, and then in the second they had that 40 days worth of periodized training. So again, perhaps that was the reason as to why.
Okay.
But again, there was two groups in that study.
Yep.
A normal protein group and the high protein group, and the high protein group lost much more body fat than the normal protein group, even though they were over consuming 800 calories worth of food.